welcome to this episode of Season 6 of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and often guests, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late and much missed John Popham. So, Sweyn, weather check. How has the weather been this week where you are, and what's the forecast?
It's been mixed. We've had some bright sunshine. We've had some cool breezes. Not much rain. I think we're going to get better weather as the week progresses. So that's all fine. How about you in
In
Ireland?
Clare, it's been lovely. I was swimming
Oh
on
wow!
Saturday in the sea in the Atlantic, so that'll tell you.
Oh
With
well,
my
yeah.
sister and my brother-in-law, with lots of other people. Yeah, so bits of rain, but really lovely weather and very nice to be outdoors. And I went out for a quick blast of sunshine before the program to get my
Lovely.
endorphins running. So
Yes, indeed.
that was all good. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So, you've got some dates for us, or a date for
I've
us
got one
today.
date today. One date that comes with two short videos.
Hmm.
So let me find it. Yeah. Let me find it first, because that
Something
would
to
be
do with
good, wouldn't it?
Celebration Day.
It's Celebration Day, yes. Can I find where I'm sharing things from today? Yes, I can. Nearly.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, here we go. It is indeed Celebration Day. And this is a day which provides a national moment. I think it's UK based mainly. It provides a moment on the last Monday in May for a time to pause and remember the people who made us who we are today, but who are no longer with us. And it's been running since 2022, and it's been marked in myriad ways by well-known voices, from Helena Bonham Carter and Satish Kumar to Judi Dench, Tom Holland, Anya Hindmarch, Stephen Fry, Asa Butterfield, Suzanne Wokoma, David, Jason, Julia, Samuel, Prue Leith, Toby Johns, Alexander Armstrong, Alison Hammond, Meg Jones, Ellie Simmons and Anthony Selden, alongside organisations, schools and community groups. And the day has been embraced by the country, uniting generations and cultures. And this hashtag is Mark Their Memory, and it's really an invitation to remember people who have been important in our lives but who are no longer with us. So I will play this short video which explains some of that in better than I can.
It's such a lovely idea to have a positive day where you can actively choose to remember someone. On Celebration Day, I will be cooking some old family recipes as a way of connecting with my mum and dad.
Every run that I do is because of my dad. He was a massive instrumental figure in my life.
On this Celebration Day, I'll be remembering Alex and all the positive things he brought into my life. He was my mentor when I was a young physio and took me under his wing when I first started my career.
On Celebration Day, I'll be celebrating my father. I'm really proud of him for being what he was.
Our loved ones are always inside us all the way through. It gives me comfort, it makes me smile.
We're not very good in the West at remembering people we've lost in a way that doesn't seem to be branded as slightly depressing or scary or somewhat taboo.
We talk about the grief and some of the pain and some of the good stuff. You never get to celebrate.
And that's how we remember their contribution to our lives, because we didn't just come from nowhere.
So to have a celebration day, it stands out for me.
Celebration is the perfect word for it.
That was lovely. Wow.
There we are, and
I'm
I'm
really
on
impressed with
mute
that.
and I'm invisible. Yeah, no, I really like this, and it was also the thing that at 7 p.m. on well, it's today.
Mm.
They have a thing called the Big Toast, and we're all invited, if we can mark that precise moment, to whether you're pubs or homes or venues across the country, to raise a glass, a pint, a cup of tea, a cocktail, or just water, in a shared national toast to remember and mark the memory of the people who shaped us. And I think this day did actually grow out of COVID,
Mm.
but it's good to see it's continued. And
I really like that,
yeah,
I'm just thinking, like, we've got a meeting. You and I'll be at a meeting, I think, this evening, about that, around that time, and we could mark the memory of the people who contributed to Open Date Camp, who are no longer with us, Jennifer, and the Irish guy Hewell, who was, and others who we
yeah,
have sadly lost. But yeah, good
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. So actually, purely by chance as well, my Facebook memories threw up another John Popham related
Always good.
item,
Mm.
which I'm also going to share here. As well, before I do that, who am I celebrating? Lots of people. My mum, who died in 2018, and my dad, who died a bit earlier than that, in 2009, and also my four very different grandparents, each of whom I was able to know while they were still around, and each of whom were completely different from each other and from all of us. And also two dear friends who died at different times. Chris Meek, who was one of the leading main active people in the Stromness Drama Club in the 90s, and her husband Eric Meek, who was more or less single-handedly set up the RSPB in Orkney, which is now, I think, still the biggest landowner after all. So I'm thinking about all of those people. And Pauline, are you?
Yeah, I've got a few people who you when you invited me to contribute to this, I thought about my grandmother, my mother's mother, who ran a hairdressing business to support herself and my mum after her husband died, sadly in the US, and they came back to Ireland to live then. And my other grandmother, my dad's mother, who also ran a business to support her family, including after her husband died, and she ran a small grocery. So there's retail in the blood.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurial women as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, absolutely brilliant. So, as I was saying about independently of this, on the Dr. Tech Show, we're always mentioning John Popham, and we don't need a celebration day to play a video of John, but we will. Obviously, John, who conceived the idea of this show and started it off in May 2020, and here's a video of John himself being himself. I think it's just a throwaway little comment that he's made a video of while he's preparing to go and deliver some training. I can't remember exactly what it was all about, but
in Dublin, actually. So
in
that's
Dublin,
a nice
yes, of
connection.
course. I'd forgotten about that part too.
Yeah.
So here he is.
It's a really lovely morning in Dublin, and I'm on my way to deliver some digital inclusion training to social housing providers. And I woke up early this morning and was listening to the news about Marks and Spencer's in the UK closing 100 stores. I used to work in urban regeneration, and the fact that you had a Marks and Spencer's in a place was normally deemed to be a sign of the town's prosperity. Now that they're closing more than 100 stores. But what interested me was the reaction of some of the people they talked to, particularly older people. One of them said, I don't know where I'm going to get my clothes from now. I'm not going to shop online. And another one said, too many people are shopping online. This is what's happening. The thing is, shopping online is inevitable. That's what it's going to happen. And it brings it home more and more to me about why we need to get older people online. We need to show them being online is a life-enhancing, joyous thing, not something to be feared.
Always so good to see John.
There we are. Yes, it's a nice little piece. And I think he's been playing with his intros and outros there, don't you?
Yeah,
Been playing with
exactly.
some apps. Anyway, that's just a single one event today, but there's a lot in it, and so we move on.
Brilliant. Okay, and we have some events that we picked up that readers and listeners might be interested to hear about. The first one is tomorrow at Charing Cross Library, and it's called it's an IT help session called Click Smarter, Not Harder, and you're invited to come and get basic digital help. This runs regularly on a Tuesday from 2 to 4, and they've asked people to book their 30-minute slot on Eventbrite, and staff can help you with this if you don't know how to. So that's good basic digital help straight away. What caught my eye about this was the volunteers. It says our supportive volunteer can speak Cantonese, English, and Mandarin. So that's really inclusive and supporting local people who have needs like that. And what they're saying with this session is we can help with using the internet, emails, printing, online shopping, social media, and much more. So the basic things that we all take for granted, but aren't so easy for some people. So there's some help for that. And the sessions are delivered by trained volunteers who can help with most things. It says, however, if you have a request related to something that requires in-depth knowledge, such as coding, you may be signposted to other courses or resources. So that's a good um, expectation management section there. It also says, and this is what I used to point out in the sessions I used to run, digital drop-ins in Birmingham, our IT sessions are not valid for fixing technical faults with electronic devices that need expert advice. We did often get people coming in with broken laptops and stuff, and unfortunately we weren't able to help them with that. So when I got pop-ups printed, I always made sure to have a line on there that says what we can't help with, and one of those was helping with technical faults. But other resources are available to help with those. So um, signposting is always a possibility.
Yeah.
So that's in London, Charing Cross Library tomorrow, 2 to 4. And we have one from Wales on Wednesday, 27th of May at 6:30 p.m. at Urban HQ in Orchard Street in Swansea. This is a session called Making Living Heritage Visible, Media Participation and Sustainable Futures. And this is a talk by Dr. Zion Jiang from the University of Antwerp about how living heritage is shaped and how communities can create more inclusive cultural futures. The blurb says in 2024, the UK ratified the UNESCO 2003 Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage or Living Heritage. But what does this mean in practice? How are different forms of living heritage identified, represented, and sustained? As national and regional inventories begin to take shape, the challenge is not only what counts as living heritage, but how it becomes visible and to whom. The talk examines how other countries have addressed this challenge, focusing on the role of media in making heritage more visible. In the international arena, living heritage is presented through short audiovisual materials to gain international status and global visibility. These materials do not simply document, but actively shape how heritage is seen and understood, who is shown to participate, how communities are represented, and what becomes recognisable within official frameworks. The talk connects to these global dynamics to emerging initiatives in Wales, including work in Swansea and Nice Port Talbot, that brings together community organisations, cultural institutions, and migrant and minority groups through collaborative and creative practices. It reveals how everyday cultural practices, such as community activities, shared skills, and forms of hospitality, might become visible as living heritage, and how they might be recognised within evolving systems of cultural safeguarding, fostering social cohesion, resilience, and sustainable futures in post-industrial settings. Ultimately, it finishes by saying it invites reflection on how heritage systems might move beyond representation toward more inclusive and participatory forms of cultural safeguarding, where visibility is not only granted but collectively shaped. So, yeah, good to see people being helped to think about how that they might contribute to that.
Yeah, I think the concept of preserving and celebrating intangible cultural heritage, I mean, it's kind of a slippery concept, but good few years ago now, during the Orkney Storytelling Festival, we had a guy from Newfoundland as a storyteller. I'm remembering his first name, but embarrassingly, I'm not remembering his surname. He was called, well, now I've forgotten that as well. I'm not doing well today. Anyway, Dale something, who was one of the first kind of professional, cultural, intangible heritage professionals, because Newfoundland has got a rich tradition of music and stories and all sorts of and food and traditions, and it's good to see. I mean, that must have been within 2-3 years of the convention coming into into being, and it's only taken the UK 21 years to to
No
ratify it.
comment.
So we're getting there. No, I just think it's a great idea because it does include music and food and the way people live their lives, and how and why.
I've
So
often, yeah, been. I'm sure you have as well. Been to things where you think to yourself, "Oh, I hope other people can see this in due course," or this would be a great thing to record, to remember. And of course, John was very keen on
mm,
recording stories like that. So, great to see this happening. That there's talks about it, and maybe some people will be inspired from this to record their own heritage.
mm.
Mm. Okay, and last but not least, having covered the two of the other nations in the UK, we have Scotland. Last but not certainly not least, and you'll be glad to hear, Sweyn, this is a hybrid
Hooray!
event. It's called Mental Health on Screen, a Wikipedia workshop, and this is a social and supportive workshop to improve information on mental health representation in film, TV, and on social media. It's described as a fun, interactive Wikipedia editathon exploring cultural representation of mental health, and the event will tackle the gaps in mental health literacy, popular media representation of mental health, and much more. You're invited to turn Wikipedia's red links into well-researched published articles. So this is happening at the Edinburgh University Main Library, Teaching Room 107, or on Teams. So either of us could join in on that, or other people listening and watching this program now
Yes,
or before next Friday. And what to
I'm going to
expect?
go to this.
I think it sounds wonderful. Participants will learn how to edit Wikipedia pages during a hybrid event, online webinar, and in-person meetup, and will be supported over the afternoon to help create new pages for notable places, organisations, and individuals who are not currently on Wikipedia and/or help improve already existing Wikipedia pages. The promise is you'll learn a new digital skill and meet like-minded event participants, all passionate about improving representation online to help close the gender gap for the benefit of millions of readers all around the world. And as part of this blurb on Eventbrite, they've got some videos, and I've given a link to one of the videos, which we're going to see a few minutes of now, about how Wikipedia is addressing the gender gap and how other people can get involved. So
It
take it
starts
away,
with a nice
Sweyn.
black screen, so here we go.
Yes, unfortunately. But if we look at the first 4 minutes, I think it's useful.
Wikipedia is one of the top 10 most popular sites on the internet. It was founded in 2001 with the aim of giving everybody access to the sum of all knowledge, and it now has over 50 million articles in over 300 languages. However, as the website, editor community, and number of local charities which support the Wikimedia movement has grown, it has become clear that there are big gaps in the knowledge that Wikipedia contains. Whilst there are around 6 million articles on the English Wikipedia, many other language communities are struggling to expand their content due to a lack of editors. There is also a big gender gap. Only 18% of biographical articles on the English Wikipedia are about women, and it is estimated that only around 16% of Wikipedia editors are female.
I'm Lucy Crompton-Reid, and I'm the Chief Executive of Wikimedia UK, which is the national chapter for the global Wikimedia Open Knowledge movement. I joined Wikimedia in 2015, which coincided with the Wikimedia community starting to take the problem of gender inequality more seriously, with the launch of new initiatives such as Art and Feminism and Women in Red. Towards the end of 2015, Wikimedia UK launched our own strategy for the period 2016 to 2019. And at the heart of that strategy was the very bold ambition to eradicate inequality and bias on the Wikimedia projects. One of our strategic aims for that period was therefore to increase the coverage of underrepresented subjects on Wikipedia and to diversify its content and contributors. At Wikimedia UK, we are proud of the fact that half of our leading volunteers are women, and that volunteer contributors and partner organisations that we've worked with help to increase the percentage of biographies about women on the English Wikipedia from 14 to 18%. There is still so much more work to be done. We hope that this video will explain a little bit about what our charity and the individuals, communities and organisations that we work with have done over the last few years towards closing the gender gap, and also to encourage others, like you, to get involved.
I'm Alice White and I am a digital content editor at Wellcome Collection, and I'm also their Wikimedian in residence. I think the main thing that's changed in the time that I've been doing this role is how many people are approaching us to do things. And I started out speaking to people and inviting them to participate, and now people are hearing about this wiki stuff and thinking, that sounds amazing, I want to do that, and approaching me.
My name is Jess and I'm a physicist at Imperial College London. Alice taught me not only about how to edit Wikipedia but also about the horrific gender imbalance on the website, and I, for a few months, just thought, hey, this is kind of cool, I'll talk about it a bit, and then realised kind of over Christmas and New Year at the beginning of 2018 that actually to change things properly I'd have to really invest some time into it. So I decided I'd make one page about a woman scientist or engineer every day.
People want to see how they can make a positive change. So it's all very well to run an event that starts out very, very doom and gloom, and here is this huge problem and it's insurmountable, but what has the most successful outcome in terms of motivating people and getting them editing is, I think, the way that we communicate that Wikipedia is a collaborative, volunteer-led project, and you can do something about that, and talking to them about the progress that's being made and the opportunities for them to make a contribution, big or small, whatever they have time for. And I think inspiring people with what they can do rather than making them feel sad about how things are seems to have worked really, really well for us.
And then someone from The Guardian wrote an article about it in the summer. Actually, a physicist who used to be at Imperial called Hannah Devlin wrote an article about it in the summer. And after that, now it's gone pretty crazy, and I feel like a lot more people are reading the pages that I create and also making their own pages, and I feel a bit of a responsibility to make my pages better and better and better now. So yeah, it has definitely snowballed in recent months.
And that was about 6 years ago, I think, that was recorded. And I'd like to think there's been huge transformation, but unfortunately not so huge. But still, I think people are contributing more and more. And when I was at the International Journalism Festival in Perugia, as you know, in April, representing the Dr. Tech Show, I went to a session run by someone from the Global Wikimedia Foundation, where they were asking for more people to get involved. I think they're keen, for more and more work to be done, obviously done by volunteers, and some of the other journalists in the session, which is quite a big session, are also editors. So, and in fact, I'm thinking, Sweyn, of trying to run something here in Ireland about Wikipedians, and see if we can contribute to the general goodness that is Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's great to see these focused, deliberate attempts to fill in some of the gaps. Not least, of course, the gender gap, but also this specific event that you've picked out here, which is focusing on mental health in in culture, I guess. Yeah, it's great. I had the great pleasure while I was picking up my car to meet the great Wikipedian. Names just are not working for me today. Did you know that?
Mr. Mabbott?
Mr. Mabbott, exactly. And I met him and had a great chat with him for an hour or so. Yes, there's a number of women as well that I know who are possibly as part of that sort of initiative that was being talked about in the video there, that were again deliberately setting themselves targets to find the so-called red names in Wikipedia, which are names that people think there should be articles for, but which they aren't there yet. And trying to set themselves targets to actually research enough to put the beginnings of an article in for those people. So it's all good.
Yeah, very good. Have you done editing Wikipedia before?
I think I've edited about 3 things on Wikipedia ever. One of them was a typo. One of them was adding a population of one of the islands of Orkney.
Okay.
I can't remember what the other one was, but I have two. I have 2 or 3 Wikipedia pages I would like to create. It's just a question of getting down to finding out exactly how to do it, and I think this event might well be the thing to kickstart that as well.
Right. Okay. On to that then.
So yeah.
Okay, moving on, we have some stories for you today, and the first one is there's another short video at the end of it, and this is about a couple of older ladies who are using Learn My Way, the Good Things Foundation program, to gain the digital skills they needed to volunteer at the local pantry, one of the services offered at the National Digital Inclusion Network Hub for Community Trust CIC. The piece that I picked up says not only have the community benefited from their new skills, but the two have built a life-changing friendship along the way. So let's just hear what they've got to say about what they've learned, and how it's been useful to them.
I lost my husband when I first came down here. I didn't know a soul till I came here. And then last year I lost my daughter and this place. I don't know what I've done.
A similar thing for me. I lost my husband 4 years ago, and if it wasn't for this place, I wouldn't be going out anywhere.
It's been very, very helpful to me.
Yeah.
People work 7 days a week and can't put food on the table around here.
It's been helpful to me too, and I notice a lot of people that come in. It's very helpful for me.
Before I did the course, I didn't know how to use a computer.
No, neither did I. I didn't know how to use a computer.
I thought if we practice enough, we might be able to cope with it.
Yeah.
But like that when you...
Yeah. It's hard when you get older.
Yeah.
To pick things up as easy as the kids do.
But if we persevere, we get there, don't we?
We will.
We've all got problems that have come here, one thing or another. That's definitely the fact, and we all stick together.
You guys text each other now?
Yes! Oh God, yeah, we can text now.
Oh yeah. And it's only like through coming here that we've learned those things, and now we keep in touch.
Yeah. It's our lifeline.
Yeah, it is.
It's our lifeline.
I just thought that was so sweet and so, you know, I know people like that. I've met people like that, you know, regularly in the work I used to do in Birmingham, and if people could understand that that's the experience for so many people. I'm sure you know plenty of people like that. People you're coming across now with AbilityNet, you know, for whom a bit of hand holding and a bit of support makes all the difference, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, well done for Community Trust CIC for running the pantry in the first place, and then for helping people to learn some new skills as well.
It's just another example of people actually being motivated to do some online or digital stuff because they need to get something else done. Yeah. I think most people really come to this sort of thing through some other thing that they need to do, like help in the pantry or whatever it is. So it's just another example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving on, as we said before in this program, we look at the globe, the world, and see what one might learn from other places. So this is edition 4 of a newsletter about EdTech, and the title is Digital is not equal to inclusive, what EdTech still gets wrong, by Neera Nikwa. And he says that in the previous edition he discussed a recurring challenge in higher education. What often appears to be a student problem is in fact a system design problem. And in this edition of this publication, he says we extend that discussion to digital environments. When systems are digitized, a common assumption is that digitization equals access. and this one really spoke to me, Sweyn, because my sister is doing a course where they're assuming a level of digital skills that she doesn't always have, and I've been able to help her a bit. But I think that needs to be addressed in any of these online courses. Anyway, the article Nero goes on to say, today going digital is frequently seen as a sign of progress in education. Learning platforms are deployed, content is moved online, devices are distributed, and institutions announce transformations. From this, one might conclude that access has improved. However, this assumption requires closer examination. Digital does not inherently mean inclusive. So the assumption is that digital transformation in education is often framed as a success story of scale. Technology enables institutions to reach more learners, distribute resources efficiently, modernize teaching environments. On the surface, this seems unquestionably positive, yet the deployment of technology and meaningful access are not the same thing. A system can be digital while remaining exclusionary, and this distinction is crucial. Many institutions are not just digitizing education, they are also scaling educational systems. Unfortunately, systems that scale poorly often amplify their weaknesses. So Nero goes on to say what's actually happening. Consider a student trying to access an online learning platform like my sister. The platform exists, the login works, and the materials are technically available, but the experience can be quite different. Possible issues include confusing navigation, videos without captions, screen readers that cannot interpret content, poor performance on mobile devices, assumptions about digital fluency that exclude some learners, and low bandwidth users experiencing frequent disruptions. I mean, this could be so many of the things you and I,
Yeah.
experience every day. Never mind people who are kind of trying to learn something specific. The article says in these cases the platform may be available, but access is not guaranteed. The issue lies not in visibility, but in usability. So it's not primarily a technology problem, it's a system design problem. Technology first thinking asks, what can this tool do? In contrast, systems thinking asks, who can actually use it and under what conditions? The difference is critical because inclusion cannot be achieved merely through deployment. It must be the result of intentional design. So there's a big long article then about applying this framework. But at the
Lubazv.
end, say again. Yeah,
Lubazv.
not yeah, it's kind of an acronym that I'm not familiar with. But anyway, obviously there'll be a link to this in the show notes. But I just if you scroll down to number 6 of this framework, Sweyn, I picked that out because it says about learning from real world models. Successful inclusive digital transformation already exists. For example, the Open University in the UK demonstrates mature, inclusive distance education through accessible course design, flexible delivery, disability-aware infrastructure, and learner-centered support systems. Arizona State University, ASU, shows that scalable digital transformation requires coordinated learner support, not merely platform deployment. Its ecosystem integrates analytics, advising, adaptive support, and engagement infrastructure. Microsoft's accessibility ecosystem illustrates how inclusive design can normalize support for all learners through embedded accessibility tools. And Universal Design for Learning, the CAST framework, shows that inclusive education improves what systems support multiple forms of engagement, representation, and learner expression. So the pattern is clear. Successful inclusion is not just about advanced technology; it's about intentional design and discipline. So the invitation at the end, the very end, is let's reflect. If you are involved in digital education, ask yourself, are we expanding access or scaling exclusion? You observe, analyze, design, build, and validate. Over time, you do not just adapt technology, you create systems that include everyone. So, kind of a call to action at the end there, with some good examples, I think, of where the design has helped people to make the most
Yeah, no,
the work
it's
that's available.
really good detailed look at the whole issue. I think I would like to add the University of the Highlands and Islands, the honour roll there, because
Yeah.
again, it has, not for as long as the Open University, and not with anything like the kind of pervasiveness of the OU, but it also has been using technology very innovatively and kind of embedding those innovations into practice that works for everyone. for a couple of decades now as well. So it's good. It's good. The point is there are examples of good practice in this, and there's no real excuse for people not to know. People who are offering education, the role models are there. There's no excuse not to do it.
Yeah. And we, again, as we always say on the programme, welcome anybody who wants to come on and talk about that and any issues there might be and any more learning we can do. Very welcome to join us. So the next article is about a different community of people, and that's people, black formerly incarcerated people. And this is it's entitled Digital Inclusion During and After Incarceration, A Global Perspective by Dr. Victoria Knight. And this is a first article in a special issue for the social inclusion journal Cogitatio Press. And it's a publication by Kaylin Sanders, PhD, and Ariel Lee Roddy, an important contribution to an emerging global discussion about what meaningful digital inclusion looks like during and after incarceration for black formerly incarcerated people's digital literacy, incarceration being in people in prison or in prison environments. In an increasingly digital society, access to technology is no longer a luxury. It's fundamental to social participation, education, employment, rehabilitation, and successful integration. Yet many currently and formerly incarcerated people remain excluded from the digital infrastructures that shape everyday life. So this special issue asks urgent questions about digital equity in carceral settings, as in prisons, barriers to digital literacy and access after release, human rights, ethics, and technological justice, and how digital inclusion can support rehabilitation, dignity, and social belonging. True social inclusion requires more than access alone. It requires systems designed around equality, participation, and the recognition that digital exclusion can deepen existing social inequalities. And it's free to read. And we have covered the criminal justice system in previous stories on the show, perhaps not in this season, but in previous ones. And we know that, people go to prison for various reasons. Literacy is often, poor literacy is often a feature of people in prisons. And digital literacy is one of those literacies. So if we can encourage people to think about, people who are discriminated against or who have faced difficulties, including especially people who are have multiple discriminations or multiple challenges in their lives, then we'd like to encourage that. So great. Okay. The next item is again back to learning digital inclusion. But this is in Australia, and the title I picked out for this one was an article on LinkedIn by a guy called Dean Foley, saying digital inclusion is built at the kitchen table, not on a dashboard. And Dean just says he just ran a full-day workshop with Werribee school students, worked through a Good Things Australia Digital Mentors workshop in the First Nations Innovation Hub virtual workspace. The flow was deliberate: welcome desk, pre-check, workbook, role play, digital help plan, student links, reflection, and follow-up. The training paired basic digital skills with the qualities that matter: patient, kind, empathetic, flexible. And I really liked when I read this, Sweyn, because patience was the main thing that when I was recruiting people to project support workers who were giving people help in community settings. Patience was one of the most important things. I would value that more highly than digital skills, because you can teach that to people, but having patience with people who get upset and worried and flustered has to be the key thing. And I'm sure you know that yourself now as a
Absolutely,
Ability Net volunteer.
And I think that's one of the one of the reasons why kind of volunteer or even paid staff type services are valuable, is because the people who are delivering them know they need to be patient, more so perhaps than a family member or a partner or somebody in a shop that's trying to help payments being made or whatever. I think it's one of the key, well, all of those four things: patience, kindness, empatheticness, don't know, and flexibility. They're all very, very important. Yeah.
So Dean says by the end, those students that he was working with were a bit better prepared to help family, elders, and community members with digital tasks. Australian institutions now assume everyone can already do. And he gave us some data. The 2025 Australian Digital Inclusion Index shows 40.9% of First Nations people are
Wow.
digitally excluded. What a high number. For Australians aged 75 and over, the rate is 66.5%. That's two-thirds.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. The national First Nations gap is 10.5 points, widening to 22.8 in very remote areas. So, I mean, the assumption is that things are going to be online anyway, and there's, not much we can do about that because that's the direction of travel. But we do need to make sure that, people aren't being left out, especially when they're in
Mm.
such big numbers and affect so many,
Yeah.
many people. Yeah. Okie doke. Moving on, we now going to talk about the postal service, and this is by someone called Anar Majidov again on LinkedIn, and the title of the story is "Can Postal Networks Become Part of National Digital Infrastructure?" And I picked this up and I thought, well, maybe this could apply in the UK as well and Ireland as well, of course. Um, so Anar is currently taking part in a hashtag ITU Academy course on inclusive digital transformation in the public sector. And one of the case studies they discussed this week, he says, clearly shows that the transformation of the postal sector is not just about technology, it's about redefining the role of postal networks in the economy and society. The case focuses on a national postal network operating in a country where complex geography, a large number of regions, and different levels of digital literacy. This is India, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it says later. The situation feels familiar. Traditional mail volumes are declining. E-commerce is growing. Private courier companies are strengthening their positions, and governments are increasingly looking at postal networks as channels for delivering digital services. But along with those opportunities come serious risks: data breaches, weak access management, low digital maturity, declining public trust, and insufficient staff readiness. Could be the same about any sector that we know about in this country, in the countries that we're in. And all of this says quickly highlights one important reality: digital transformation does not start with an app or a new platform. It starts with trust. Goes on to say one of the key conclusions for Anar is that postal networks should not be viewed only as legacy infrastructure. In many countries, they remain one of the very few infrastructures physically present where other services are either absent or limited. I think we might have to add post offices to our libraries list of important institutions, Sweyn.
Yes.
Anyway, Anurag goes on to say, especially in rural and remote areas, this is exactly why postal networks can become an important part of national digital infrastructure, not because they will replace digital channels, but because they can connect digital services with people's real lives. This is particularly important for elderly citizens, people living in remote communities, individuals without smartphones, families with limited digital literacy, and small businesses outside major cities. For these groups, he says, the question is not whether a service exists online. The question is whether they can realistically access and use it. And this is where postal networks can play a unique role, providing access points for government services, supporting digital identity and verification, enabling e-commerce and small businesses through logistics and last-mile delivery, expanding financial inclusion, and offering not only services but also human support. Um, he says, but this kind of transformation requires more than cosmetic modernization. It requires fundamental change. And I haven't included the rest of the article, but it does go on to make more suggestions. And I think it's useful to read to see what's going on and what we might learn in other countries as well.
Yes. One of the problems in the UK is the split between the post offices, the buildings you go to where somebody's running the service and you pay money and you buy stamps or you collect your pension or whatever it is that you do then. That's very much mentioned in the article, but that is now totally separate in the UK from Royal Mail, which does the picking up of letters, packets and parcels from post boxes and post offices and does the delivery. It's just another kind of and that second part, the Royal Mail was privatised about 10 years ago, which makes it difficult really to look at those services in this way because they're not under the direct influence of policymakers. It's all about private owners of companies and profits and efficiency and that sort of thing. But it doesn't change the underlying truth of what's in this article. And well, the other thing that's changed in the UK over the last 20 or 30 years is that the number of traditional post offices, which used to be called Crown offices, which are actually run by the post office, is now, I think, zero. I think they closed. The latest round of closures was the last 50 or 60 Crown offices across the country, and all post offices now are franchised to other businesses of one sort or another. There are a couple of businesses that specialise in running post offices, but they'll also be in stationers, they'll be in grocery shops, they'll be, in any... It's no longer the case that the post office is the place that's open. The post office now is part of some other place that may or may not be open a lot. So it's just interesting to see how these things have changed in the last few years.
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware of the separation that you've described. So it's
well, I think the plan was to privatise both parts, but and they did privatise, as I say, the delivery service. Having separated the two out organisationally, they privatised the delivery service, I think, in about 2012, 2014, something like that. It was during the coalition government anyway. And I think the aim then was to go, full steam ahead to privatise the post offices as well, although that would seem to be more complicated. But the whole thing with the Horizon scandal really torpedoed that idea, because nobody would want to buy an organisation with basically unlimited, unknown liabilities in terms of compensation to sub-postmasters.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well. Yeah. Maybe we can learn from other countries then. If
there is a country that's suspended its letter post recently. It's the Netherlands or Denmark or somewhere. They've actually stopped having a national postal service for letters, and it's all just a patchwork of... It's a smaller country with some fewer geographical challenges, I think. I seem to recall. I can't remember which country it was, though. So that's another risk. Or was it Hungary? Or was it one of those countries that used to be in Eastern, what we used to call Eastern Europe?
That's a challenge for our readers and listeners. Tell us which country it has stopped their postal service, if you know it, and come and talk to us about it. Okay, we will cover a few more stories. This one is entitled "Digital Inclusion: Avoiding New Urban Divides in the Age of AI," by someone called David Gonzalez. And again, this was on LinkedIn, and it says that the smart city promises efficiency, innovation, and a better quality of life. Yet, as artificial intelligence reshapes urban life from mobility to governance, an uncomfortable truth has emerged. Not everyone benefits equally. What a surprise. Digital transformation, if not managed with equity in mind, risks deepening social divides rather than bridging them. Connectivity, access, and digital literacy have become as essential as water or electricity. In the age of AI, the challenge for cities is not just to become smarter, but to ensure that intelligence is shared inclusively. Digital inclusion means more than providing internet access. It involves ensuring that every citizen, regardless of age, income, or background, can participate meaningfully in the digital ecosystem. This includes access to affordable devices, skills to use them safely and effectively, and the ability to understand how technology shapes everyday life. As AI systems become embedded in public services from healthcare to education and transportation, exclusion from the digital world can translate into exclusion from the city itself. The digital divide manifests in multiple layers. There's the connectivity gap, affecting those who live in areas without reliable broadband or 5G coverage. There's the economic gap, limiting those who cannot afford smart devices or data plans. And there's the knowledge gap, which excludes citizens lacking digital literacy or trust in technology. Each of these divides amplifies inequality in access to opportunities, civic participation, and even safety. And the article goes on, to describe more of all of these things in more detail and more concerns, which I found was kind of a bit of a wake up call. Even we think we cover everything on here, but actually we discovered even more um, challenges. But it finishes by saying anyway that ultimately the goal of digital inclusion is not to connect people to machines, but to connect people to each other through technology. And I thought that was the key piece, which we would agree with, and John.
Absolutely.
Artificial intelligence can amplify human potential only if every voice is heard and every citizen is visible in the data. The intelligent city of the future must be a shared intelligence where access, participation, and opportunity are universal. Otherwise, the digital revolution will illuminate only part of the city, leaving the rest in the dark. So, kind of a, a kind of strong line to finish on, but this article on, but well worth more thought, I think, about things we talk about anyway. But it's just you just
Yeah,
need to
I mean,
keep monitoring.
absolutely. This article focuses on cities, but you could substitute the word city throughout with community of any sort, really. It's just, I guess, that the details about how you address some of the issues are possibly, arguably, some of them different in centres of population as opposed to more sparsely scattered populations. But everything that's said here is true of rural and other non-urban settings too, I think.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a couple more things before we close. I wonder if we could go down to the decent one.
Yes.
Sweyn, please. This is a digital inclusion ask included in decent questions by our friend at Tech Resort, Will Callahan, and he put this on LinkedIn to say and said, "Great to get a digital inclusion ask included in decent questions, courtesy of Eastbourne's hardworking Just Babarinda OBEMP." Will says, hopefully the government will support the efforts of grassroots organisations like Tech Resort and countless others across the country that are supporting those at risk of being left behind. So the question was asked in Parliament on the 21st of May.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. NHS Sussex found that Eastbourne, despite being the sunniest town in the UK, is one of the most digitally excluded patches of Sussex. There are great organisations like Tech Resort, run by Liz Crew and Will Callahan, doing work to help bridge the digital divide. However, they will be scuppered by the closing of the Digital Inclusion Innovation Fund, whose last grants expired last month. So will the Minister commit to reviewing whether that fund will be reopened and set out a timeline for that so that Tech Resort can benefit?
The honourable gentleman raises a very important point, and I know he has excellent record in this area. The Digital Inclusion Fund was designed for a one-year programme to understand what works in digital inclusion. I share the members' concerns, and we remain committed to building a digitally inclusive society, including our public services, which we are making more personalised, joining up and digital, so that everybody is included and benefits from them, as we all expect our public services to be as adequate and as inclusive as they can be.
Blood talk.
Was that a sufficient answer?
So there we go.
Was there a commitment?
Now we know.
Was there a commitment to further funding, or?
No, I don't think there was. I'm not aware of the programme that is being discussed here that's come to an end.
Yeah, this was the
it's an England thing, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was announced it must have been a year ago. I remember being at one of the briefing sessions where we were discussing what should be funded. And there was, as far as I can remember, I think I'm right about this, there was over 600 organisations involved in this Zoom call. At the time, Will Callahan and others would have been on that call and just listening. And at the time, I remember thinking that instead of going to consultation and asking people what they think should be funded, there were enough organisations there that those 600 could have been listed, and we could have had a vote about who should be funded, and just cut out the people, and decide what to be funded. And I know there was announcements then subsequently to that, obviously, of what was going to be funded. I think there was about 80 projects funded.
Oh yes, and there
So
was a
not huge amounts. Yeah.
lot of people not funded. Yeah.
So yeah, the need is great,
Yeah.
as we know. It just doesn't always happen that they
Yeah.
get funded. Okay. Let's. Can we do the PhD scholarship one? That one that's above the
Yes.
story that's above this one. This one kind of intrigued me because you don't often
Yes.
see a story like this happening, and it's from the US, but I have checked, and it's open to overseas candidates. I think it's the US. I think it was the US anyway. Um, yeah, it's a PhD scholarship on digital intimacy and inclusion, and the article is by Rosalie Power, who says that she's seeking a motivated PhD candidate to explore how LGBTQA plus people with intellectual disability engage with digital platforms for sexual health, relationships, and community connection. So you're being invited to join a research team if you're interested in this, dedicated to advancing disability and sexual justice through co-design and arts-based methods. So I had a look at the blurb on the university page for this, and it says that digital spaces such as online dating, social media, and sexual health websites are increasingly central to how people learn about, express, and experience sexuality. Yet, people with intellectual disability often face systemic barriers to participation in these spaces, including exclusionary design, limited access to inclusive information, and heightened risk of stigma and discrimination. Grounded in a disability and sexual justice framework, this project will investigate both the risks and possibilities of digital engagement, producing new insights into how LGBTQA plus people with intellectual disability navigate intimacy, community, and sexual health online, using participatory and arts-based methods, including co-design workshops and photo and object elicitation interviews. The project will co-produce knowledge with LGBTQA plus people with intellectual disability. Outcomes will include inclusive digital resources and practical strategies that advance equity, agency, and justice in online sexual health engagement. The project is part of a larger program of research transforming sexual health through co-design with LGBTQA plus people with an intellectual disability. It will be conducted in collaboration with LGBTQA plus people with intellectual disability, sexual health and disability service providers, and an interdisciplinary team of academics with expertise in disability, LGBTQA plus health, and sexual health. And I just thought that was revolutionary,
Yeah.
and the kind of thing that John, I think, would have thought was a great thing to get
Yeah.
involved in.
It's Australia. It's Sydney,
Australia. Sorry,
Western Sydney
yes.
in Australia.
I knew it
So
wasn't.
yeah, it's dollars,
The
but it's not America.
I knew it wasn't the countries that we were more familiar with.
No.
But yeah, it's just great to see these things happening because we know how useful digital can be, and
Yeah.
exploring, a niche within a niche. So good on Rosalie and the team for offering that as a possibility. And applications for PhD candidates are closing on the 30th of June. So you've got over a month to make an application for it. And as I say, I have checked it out, and they are recognising overseas qualifications. So I'm assuming they're
Good.
accepting overseas candidates, or maybe there'll be Australians who studied overseas. I don't know,
Yes.
but worth looking into anyway. And well done, and let's have more of that. And I think we will close there because we're
Okay.
coming to the end of time,
Coming to
and it's
4 o'clock.
a good one to finish on.
Yeah.
So
that's
thanks
good.
very much for joining us. The show notes will include links to all the stories we've covered, and we look forward to seeing you again at the next show. Not next week, but in a week or so's time. So thanks for joining us today. All the best. Bye bye now.
Bye.